Um, 今日は we're going to be going through Japanese language basics. So we're going to be covering everything like Hiragana, Katakana, some basic phrases, some slang. We're going to do some tongue twisters right at the end. So I hope that you can enjoy this lesson, and we'll just hope you can learn some stuff from the lesson. If you haven't already, make sure you've got a notebook or a pen or something so you can write certain things down as we're going along. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna just be learning like basics of Japanese. Some of you already might have quite a good understanding of Japanese, and if that's the case, that's okay. But we'll cover some complicated stuff in the middle of it as well. But yeah, Japanese is an intricate language, and it's something that obviously, as it's so intertwined with the culture, that it's not just a language you're learning bits about the culture, you're learning about what to say in certain situations, and that there's many different words for the same thing, and so on. So it's as you go on and practice Japanese and you learn it, you'll realize that it has challenges, but it's totally worth it in the end. So probably the most basic thing you'll need to do is to introduce yourself. So if you go to Japan and you meet anybody, like in a business setting, or you do a homestay or something like that, it's kind of within the culture to introduce yourself. This is the easiest way to introduce yourself. You can say hajimemashite, watashi wa, and you say your name. So watashi wa Tairiku desu, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. So that's the basic way to introduce yourself, and the formal way to introduce yourself. So I think most of you in the chat at the moment might know some hiragana already. So I have put this on anyway because I was thinking some people might not know hiragana quite yet. But these are just beginner phrases. So konnichiwa is typically how you say hello, but you can be a bit more informal and say ohayo. That's usually say ohayo in morning or early afternoon, and as it comes to evening, you might say konbanwa, konbanwa. But usually, when you're throughout the day, it's konnichiwa or ohayo. Evening, konbanwa. Say thank you, simple, arigato. To say sorry, there's two ways of saying sorry. There's sumimasen or gomenasai. Sumimasen is probably more formal, but if you want to be casual and just want to say sorry quickly, you can say gomen. Instead of gomenasai, you can say gomen, gomen. So there's a few other phrases as well that are super useful, such as wakarimashita. So if you understand something that somebody said to you, you can respond with wakarimashita or wakatta. Wakarimashita is more formal, so it's best to use that. And if you're asking for something and you're saying please, you can say onegai shimasu, onegai shimasu. So if you're asking for something, you want someone to give you something, you can say please, kore wa onegai shimasu, can I have this please? There's, when you're saying bye, you can say mata ne. Well, there's different ways of saying mata ne. For example, you can say mata ashita, which means see you tomorrow. So mata literally means again. So if you say mata ne, it's like I'll see you again. So you can say mata ashita to say I'll see you tomorrow, or mata suyobi, mata suyo. to say, "Oh, see you Wednesday," for example. If most of these phrases, especially this one, you probably hear in anime if you watch anime a lot. Daijoubu, which is just it's okay, or I'm alright, I'm fine. If someone says how are you, it's daijoubu dayo, I'm okay. And naruhodo is a phrase you might say if you understand what somebody's saying. So it's a kind of response. So somebody says, 例えば、明日は雨降りそうと思います。So I think it's gonna rain tomorrow. And you might be like, なるほど、なるほど。雲はもいね. So like the clouds are coming. So it might be, for example, so those are common phrases. I put them in Romaji because like I said, most of you might not have read Hiragana, but it's really important that you can learn Hiragana as soon as possible because it will help a lot with pronunciation. So Hiragana, Katakana, Kanji, those are the three writing scripts in Japanese. Hiragana is the main writing script, and Katakana is typically used mostly for foreign words, so words that aren't Japanese that are borrowed. And so Hiragana kind of looks like this, Katakana kind of looks like that. So Hiragana is there's a lot more curves, whereas Katakana is more straight and jagged. So as you can see, they both have the same phonetic system. So once you learn Hiragana, for example, you won't have to learn any new pronunciations for Katakana because they are the same. You would just have to remember that they have different symbols to learn from. So it does make the job easier. And so you can see, again, here's a comparison. That's a, I, U, E, O. So in Japanese, there is really like 5 main vowels. You've got a, I, U, E, O. And from each column, you can have like a different consonant. But those are the main vowel sounds. And again, you can see that there's a big contrast between the two. So Kanji is different to Hiragana and Katakana because it's actually Chinese letters that were from the original Chinese writing script. So Japan borrowed this writing style from China and implemented it into their language. So it is used with Hiragana and Katakana in writing. So they're all 3 scripts work together. So they're all used at the same time. But you don't need to learn any new readings for kanji because kanji, you would read that with a hiragana or katakana pronunciation. So it's the same phonetic system, but you just have symbols instead. So on the right, you have the word for kanji. So the top kanji is pronounced kan, the bottom kanji is pronounced ji. So those 2 are both, let's see, okay, we can write. So can everyone see the writing, by the way?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, ka. So that's so that's kan. So that would be kan, ka-n, and then ji. So that's the hiragana. So you'd pronounce any kanji with hiragana letters. Okay, so you can see like different in action how you'd see the different kana, hiragana, katakana, and kanji around Japan. So, wait, Ben, can you read the top left one? Do you know what the top left one is?
I don't know what that one is.
It's sake. Sake.
Sake.
Is sake.
I see.
It's alcohol. Um,
Mhm.
you probably can read the top right one, the McDonald's one.
It's Donald. Is it?
No, it's
Drive through.
derives. So Japanese with some English words, it'll literally take the English word and make it into a Japanese way of pronouncing it. The bottom left, you can see there's hiragana and kanji used at the same time. So in this one, it's kono fuki ni tachitamare naite kudasai. So you can see that they all have the same phonetics. It just has kanji and hiragana in that one. Then the bottom right is tomare, which is on a lot of streets, side streets in Japan, which basically means stop. And you can see here like different uses of kanas in Japanese. So first of all, before I carry on with kanas, just a quick learner tip. When you're speaking Japanese and maybe you don't know what to say or to pronounce things, it's a good idea to be able to learn fillers. So fillers are like words that you'd use when you can't think of anything to say or you're struggling to say something. So a popular one, instead of saying in Japanese, like etto, etto, etto. So you can start to think like a Japanese person if you start using those fillers to kind of fill time and trying to find out what to say. If you were to like agree with someone, you can learn fillers to agree with someone. For example, so desu ne, so da yo, which is like meaning, oh, okay, yeah, I agree, that sort of thing. If someone's saying something or you understand something, so, which is used quite often. So we can practice drawing. So if you have a notepad and a pen by you, you can practice drawing just the first five hiragana, which is a, I, U, E, O. If we go back, so let's see. So when you're practicing to write hiragana or katakana, when you practice it, it helps you to remember how it's structured a lot better. So if I'm writing a, it's important to use stroke order. Stroke order is important because it helps you to write more efficiently. So I'll go down first and then around like that. So that's how I would do a. E might be down and out. U is curved at the top. It's usually actually like that. So you do the stroke at the top and then curve around. So as you can see, it's usually from top to bottom that you draw kanji or hiragana or katakana. So yeah, okay, so I see some of you put down some questions as well. Stroke order, if you're not writing often, it's not really that important, but as you start to learn kanji, and say if you're writing a letter to someone, or you're just writing anything, it's super useful to learn stroke order just because it makes it quicker and faster to write a piece of text. And it makes it easier to be able to write difficult kanji, because just quick thing about kanji, kanji is made of small elements called radicals. So if I know this stroke order, so I did this first, did that, and then I did this first, then I remember that same pattern when I do a different kanji. And so when you have these radicals appearing in more complicated kanji, you can remember the stroke order and write it a lot quicker. So it is useful to know the stroke order if you are going to be writing, but if you are learning, it might not necessarily be as important. So it does help to make it easy to remember as well. If you guys want, you can just practice drawing some of the hiragana and katakana, and just post them down in the Japanese learning chat channel. And yeah, so I'll just quickly put down a comment so you can comment it down, because I'm going to move on, and then you can just practice a bit. So if you just check Japanese learning chat, you can see it, and you can try practicing the stroke order, and just see how you get on. I haven't explained exactly how to draw the stroke order, apart from but just remember, usually with these ones, it's just going from left to right or from top to bottom. So if I just quickly draw all of them, it's the same, left to right, top to bottom. That sort of thing. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so here's the same phrases and in hiragana, so you can just see how it's written in hiragana. So I'm just going to read the top two of both of them. I already mentioned them, but you can see by learning hiragana, you'll be able to pronounce a lot better. So this is ko n ni chi wa. Ko n ni chi wa. And o ha yo u. Ohayo. Ohayo. Or arigatou. Arigatou. So learning hiragana helps you not to try and pronounce like you're speaking in your native tongue, but more in the Japanese tongue. So it's important to learn it. Okay, so we're just going to learn a few more phrases, just like useful phrases. So 例えば majide. Maji means like really. So like if you're expressing your like shock at something, you could be like majide. So that's like super like kind of slang like. If you're expressing like your amazement at something, sugoi. Hontoni has a similar meaning to majide. It's you say really, or you're expressing, is that really? And another popular phrase, shoganai. So shoganai means like it can't be helped. It is what it is. That's just the way it is. And it's used by Japanese people a lot because they believe in fortune and luck and the way things are. So shoganai is like it's that's just how it is. So if I don't know, for example, your mom is saying, why didn't you take out the laundry? And you're like, shoganai, can't be helped, I guess. Tsukarechatta, I was tired or something like that. Okay, so I remember there was one of you was asking to learn a bit of vocabulary and directions. So we're going to just go through directions briefly. And so what the Japanese level that we're going to might be a bit more difficult for some of you who are starting, but it's you can kind of see what the Japanese language is like in action in a bit. So if you're asking for where something is, you can say the something wa doko desu ka? So you're asking for the bathroom. Toire wa doko desu ka? You could be you're even looking for an item. So you're looking for your phone. It could be smaho wa doko desu ka? So that means where is it? So that can be with places or things. If you want to say how to get somewhere, you could say ni wa dou yatte ikimasu ka? So dou yatte ikimasu ka? So how do I get to Tokyo, for example? Tokyo ni wa dou yatte ikimasu ka? If you want to say how long something takes, you can say dore kurai kakarun desu ka? So if you want to say how long does it take to get to a destination, you can just say that. Just do yatte. Yatte is from the verb suru, but in this case, I'll just try to remember it as do yatte as a phrase rather than suru. So then you've got left and right. So left is hirari, right is migi. To turn somewhere is magaru. So if you say migi ni magaru, you mean you're turning right somewhere. Or hidari ni magaru, you're turning left. So that's explains some basics in directions. So here's a sample sentence. Wait, no, not yet. So sample sentence is there. Looks like we've got more phrases as well. So you say from here, kore kara is like from here. So kore kara dore kurai kakarun desu ka would be from here, how long does it take to get somewhere else? So it could be koko kara, machigacchatta. すみません。ここから という。So that's read ここ instead of これ. That's my mistake. すみません。ここから そこまで. So そこまで would be to that destination. So ここから so from here そこまで to there どれくらいかかるんですか? How long would it take? If you're going straight ahead, まっすぐ まっすぐ. You can see this small su is not pronounced. It's kind of a little pause. So when you see small su, it's a little pause. まっすぐ まっすぐ. If you're saying something is next to, so you're saying 私の隣でテレビがあります. So you say next to me is a television. You can just say 隣 for something next to you. Something's close to you, 近い Is there something that's far away from you, 遠い So it's like a long o sound, とおい 遠い. Then walking, if you're walking somewhere, 徒歩 is 徒歩. Mistake. 徒歩. And then different transportation. If you're going by bus, バス, and train is 電車. So バス is the same English for bus. So you can say バス to mean bus. 電車 is train, and 移動 is to travel, is like moving. So you're traveling by a certain means. Okay, so those are just some phrases. If you, I think it was Pixel was learning directions. So if you want to write some notes as we're going on as well, this will be useful for you. So for example, yeah. So before carry on, I just see some of you are typing some stuff down. 電車、列車。列車聞こえない。I've not heard of 列車 before, but I've usually heard 電車 for train. So, ちょっと待って。So I'm not sure. Usually, I've just done a quick definition. It looks like it has a similar meaning. They're both trains. They both mean trains. 電車、列車. Ah, okay. So learn something new. 電車 is electric train. I always usually use 電車 if I'm traveling. So, we're going to just do some example sentences. So as you can see, there's some little hiragana above the kanji, and it's called furigana. So usually, if you are learning kanji and you want to try and learn reading kanji and you don't know how to, it's best if you can get a text that has furigana, because it shows you the pronunciation of the kanji above. So it can help you get used to reading kanji. So Ben, would you like to help me read the...
I can give it a go.
Do you want to do A or B?
I'll do B.
Okay. So, すみません。下妻駅にはどうやって行けますか？
ここからまっすぐ歩いて、右から3番目の角で曲がれば行けますよ。
ありがとうございます。遠いんですか？
Oh, sorry.
大丈夫。
いいえ、とても坂いいです。徒歩5分だけできます。
はいはい。ありがとうございます、ベンさん。So that's just show you some example sentences of how it's used. So you can see you're using sumimasen to ask ask a question. So if you are in Japan and you want to ask for directions, that's the best polite way to ask somebody. Sumimasen. Arigato gozaimasu. Best way to just say thank you to somebody. So you can see the phrases that we were learning. It's very useful to use when you're just in everyday conversation. So just a quick question: can you use both pun or fun? Is that for minutes? Like if you're explaining minutes? If you're okay, so in explaining minutes, it depends on the number. So if you're writing, for example, let's say, because I know it, 30分. So it's 30分. So this would be pronounced 30分. So that pronunciation would use pun. However, if you're using, for example, let's see, this, you probably say 5分, which is 5 minutes. So that's 30 minutes. This is 5 minutes. 5分. So it all depends on which number you have in front of the fun. That depends on the pronunciation. But usually you'd use fun. Pun is quite more rare, but you'd usually say fun, 5分. So if if you're not sure, it's best to say fu. So that's just important point about Japanese actually. It uses different symbols above the letters. So you probably notice that you've got this, and then you've got the same with another symbols at the top, which is your rendaku. This changes the pronunciation. This is like fu. Okay. The pen doesn't want to work today. Shoganai ne. I don't know. Okay, so the pen's not working. So this is fu. This is bu. This is pu. So this changes the pronunciation. The circle is more rare. Usually you can see that more often. So fu, bu, pu. Not all hiragana has rendaku, but just notice when you see it, it changes the pronunciation. Okay. So some vocabulary for emotions. So this might be useful for a lot of you wanting to express an emotion or express how you express yourself towards something. So you can say, to say happy is ureshi, sad kanashi, looking forward to tanoshimi, irritated, iraira suru, lonely, sabishi, annoying, uttoshi, uttoshi. So again, small tsu. So it's in Romaji, it's usually written with two consonants next to each other. But when you see that, remember to have a little pause. Uttoshi, uttoshi. Scary, scared if something's scary. Kawaii. Tired. Tsukareru, tsukareru, tsukareru. So these are useful emotions if you want to write some of them down. And there's they're quite useful to use. There's you can see some of them have different endings, but like common endings. For example, most of them end with e. Tanoshimi, sabishi, utoshi, kawaii. So these are e adjectives. So you have two different types of adjectives in Japanese. This is e adjectives, and you have na adjectives. So e adjectives, just simple, ends with e. Na adjectives, they don't end with e. So that's just a simple thing to remember. And when you start describing things, it becomes quite useful. So if you say, let's say for 例えば ureshi tokoro, so a happy place. Ureshi tokoro, you don't have to do anything. You can just put your adjective, and then you can just put the noun that describes. If you're going to use a na adjective, 例えば kantan. So you could say an easy, for example, test. So easy test. Kantan na. Because it's no e, you add a na after it. Kantan na testo. So it's an easy test or exam paper. Kantan na testo. As you can see, I've used katakana for testo. I've used hiragana for kantan. Testo is not Japanese, obviously, so I use katakana. Okay, so here's some more example sentences. Do you want to read? Which one do you want to read? I know there's a lot of. Do you want to? A lot of,
I'll go B then.
Okay, B. So, 田中さん、最近ずっとイライラしているようだけど、 なんでだかわかる？
娘さんが大学に行くから寂しいんだって。
本当、きっとその子は自立するのが楽しみなんだろうね。
なんだか怖いから、今日はその話に触れないで怒。
こう、はいはい、ありがとう、ありがとう。So, you can see this, なんだろうね。You can see some of the emotions used to describe feelings. So you can just say what you want to say, your phrase, and then after that you can just say the emotion after. So yeah, so that's how you'd use it in a sentence. Okay. So that's quite complicated grammar, so I won't go into detail on that today. But if we go into basic grammar, this is grammar that you can use straight away. You can speak pretty much straight away. So Japanese, because Japanese is a context-based language, you can easily convey things without having to say too much information. For example, you won't usually say I or you or he or she a lot, because in the situation it will be clear who you're referring to, or maybe what you're referring to. It's usually clear based on the context. So these these are endings to explain your concepts very easily. I'll show you an example. So informal endings, usually you got da, datta, janai, janakatta. So usually the verb in Japanese comes at the end of a sentence or part of a phrase. So usually if you were saying this is a dog, you would say is before dog. So you'd say the verb before the noun. However, in Japanese, you can just say inu da. You don't have to say this is a dog. You can just say inu da. And then that means you're talking about a dog if there's a dog in front of you. So it's very easy context based. And so you've got is, was not, was not. So these are just basic things to remember. Datta, janai, janakatta. So you can see, for example sentence. Gakusei means student. Gakusei da. But usually in informal speech, you don't use common to add yo. So gakusei da yo. So that's more natural than just saying gakusei da. So that is what is kind of means is. Yo is just an ending. If you want to say you work at an office, you're an office worker. You was an office worker, sorry. Kaishain datta. So this means was. This is your noun. So you can just say kaishain datta. You don't have to say I am an office worker. You can just say kaishain datta, or I was an office worker. Nihonjin janai. So Nihonjin means Japanese person. Janai is not. So janai is not. So again, you don't have to say I am not a Japanese person. You can just say Nihonjin janai. This is informal endings, and these are the formal endings. So instead of that, you had des. You don't usually pronounce su at the end. You say des. So it's just des. Deshita, instead of datta, you have deshita. Instead of janai, dewa arimasen is not. And instead of janakatta, you'd have de wa arimasen deshita. This is wa and a. but it becomes one pronunciation. ではありませんでした. It's a long R sound. Which brings me on to a point just quickly. Wa, this is actually hiragana for ha, but when it is used in certain situations, it will become wa. So when you see, for example, konnichiwa, so this is konnichiwa, you see that it actually uses ha instead of wa. This is the hiragana for wa, and because this is a particle, so a particle is used quite often in Japanese, as something we'll actually explain in a second. But you'll notice that when it's used as a particle, it'll be pronounced wa instead of ha. So this is konnichi wa. This is de wa arimasen. This is de wa arimasen deshita. So that's something to watch out for. Not all hiragana characters change. So once you start to learn the sentence pattern of Japanese, you'll know which one to use, whether it's ha or wa. You'll be able to know. But if I can quickly show how to pronounce, actually before going to talking about particles, because then it'll be a bit. We'll go through this and then we'll probably go into particles briefly. If you want to express something's hot, you can just say atsui desu or atsui, and that's it. Atsui means hot, so you can just say atsui. That means hot. You don't have to say, oh, it's hot. It's hot today, or kyou wa atsui. Today is hot. So you don't even have to use the des sometimes. Usually when you're talking adjectives and you might want to say just as a statement, say you're out with your tomodachi and your friend, you're walking on the beach and the sun's coming out, it's really hot. You can just say atsui, and that just means it's hot. You don't have to say anything else. But if you want to say the full thing, you can say atsui desu. To be more slang, or what's typically used, it might be like atsu. So usually the e is dropped, and you probably hear this a lot in anime, for example. Atsu. Or if it's cold, you might say samu. So cold is samui. So if we say it was cold, it'd be samui deshita. Samui deshita. Samui deshita. So one thing as well, now I've realized with deshita, it's not pronounced deshita. That shita gets merged in, so you get rid of the e and it's deshita. Usually though, fortunately, when you're reading Japanese, it's usually pronounced exactly how you would read it. There's just a few exceptions like the wa or deshita, and endings like shita and things like that. So just a question, if you're gonna respond to someone saying atsui desu ka, is it hot? Type down what you think you'd respond to. How would you respond to is it hot? Yeah, you can use formal or informal if you want. So, yeah, atsui desu or atsui ne. Hi. So there's quite a few different responses actually. If you want to say another thing to respond with, if you want to say like yes, respond to something like yes, you can say un, or un. Un means yeah, but it's a lot more informal. If you want to just respond something formally in a formal situation, hi, hi, that means yeah. If you want to respond informally, say un. If you want to say no informally, it's un. So again, you have to be careful of pronunciation. So important to pronounce correctly. Un, 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 un. But atsui. That's a good question. Just a quick question. So there's two kanji for atsui. If you look in the Japanese learning chat, you can probably see there's two kanji used, and I don't want to draw this one because it's so complicated. But you can kind of see as I'm drawing the kanji, you see that I'm drawing with the stroke orders, and kanji is just little components. So you got this one, which is atsui. This one as well is ちょっと待って。atsui. Usually you can use both of them. Both of them are okay to use. There's this one can be used in a different situation. If you're talking about you've got a fever and ironically you're hot, you're feeling hot, or it means literally you're feeling hot. But if you're saying I've got a fever, it changes actually from atsu to netsu. So netsu ga aru. I've got a fever. I've got a cold. Netsu ga aru. Besides that, you can pretty much use both of them. So yeah. Okay. Fujiwara senpai is ureshi desu at the moment because she's happy that she's got some okonomiyaki. So oishii desu. Oishii means delicious. Oishii is again that's soup. That's like common. Well, if you want to just be a bit more informal, umai is like it's delicious. So as you can see with all those phrases, you just have to say one word and it describes what you mean straight away. You don't have to say this is delicious or this is really good. You can just say one word and it expresses your emotion and the feeling straight away. So that's a good thing about Japanese. You can learn adjectives and just express them straight away like that. Fujiwara senpai wants to know Doko ni sunde imasu ka? So where do you live? So what you can say in this response is your country and then desu. So that's as easy as it is. So if you want to comment down where you're from or what country you're from, and just say country then desu or country deshita. If you what was I going to say? Yeah, if you don't know what your what country you're from, for example, how to pronounce it in Japanese, just put it down in English and then just add desu, or just write it in hiragana as desu. Romaji as desu. So, 例えば、ブラジルです. So that's just from Brazil. There are other ways of saying it, but this is just a simple way of expressing something. So, 私はイギリス人です. イギリス人だよね. I did forget to mention something. You can and everyone's doing this. Everyone knows. Some people here, a lot of people here know Japanese quite well. But okay, if you're gonna say you're from a country, usually in Japanese, you would add this at the end. This kanji means person. So if you say your I'm gonna say, for example, Igirisu. Igirisu is England. So England person, you're saying I'm English. Igirisu jin desu. Igirisu jin desu. So you're saying I am from England. So you can add that to the end of your country to say what nationality you are. It is more of a nationality than a country. If you want to say country, you would say just the country, and then desu at the end, maybe. Or you could say, if you're saying where you live in, you could say, for example, Igirisu ni sundeimasu. So you can just say sundeimasu, which means I am living. So Igirisu ni sundeimasu. Which brings me on to something before I go on. Particles are important in Japanese to link sentences together. 例えば、you're saying you're from somewhere and you want to say I am English. So I'm gonna just put watashi wa igirisu jin desu. Watashi wa igirisu jin desu. So watashi, that means I. Wa igirisu jin, so that means I am English. Desu is, so I English is. You can see the verb is always at the end in Japanese. Wa, that's your particle. That is, this particular particle is a subject particle, so it means you're describing, you're putting the attention on you. So when you say in Japanese watashi, you are the subject, you're talking about yourself. So you'd say wa. Watashi wa igirisu jin desu. I am English. So this is sumimasen Fujiwara senpai. Kao ga warii sou desu ne. Sorry, so her face is kind of doodled with completely ruined. Demo daijoubu. Doko ni, this particle ni is it's used for going to a location. So if you're going somewhere or you are somewhere at a place, you can say ni. So if you say, let's say Igirisu ni ikimasu, which is Igirisu ni, that's your particle, and you say ikimasu. So igirisu ni ikimasu. So igirisu ni ikimasu. So ni is like going, in this case is going towards somewhere. So this is a particle for going towards. So I am going to England. So it's almost the England particle going to. So if you don't know particles too much now, don't worry. It's a new concept in Japanese. If you're new to Japanese, it's a new concept to learn, and it's something that will take time for you to understand. But when you understand it and you get it, it helps a lot. So okay, okay. So there we got some watashi. So I've scribbled over Fujiwara senpai's face for nothing. Sumimasen. So watashi wa jin desu. I am from there. Okay. Okay. So now we're just gonna do some tongue twisters, just to see if you guys can pronounce some stuff. Ben, do you want to take this?
I can give him a go. Let's see. ブラジル人のミラクルビラクバリ。
あ、すごい。すごい。I couldn't. But, ブラジル人のno, can't do it. This is quite hard. Yeah. So do you want to try the bottom one?
Yeah.
Okay.
東京、京都、京都。
ちょっと。東京、難しいですね。It's really hard.
東京。If you say the second word is Tokyo. 東京、京都。Ah.
東京。すごい。That's hard.
東京、京都。
If you didn't have to say the yo, I think it would be a bit easier. But saying the yo, kyo. Kyoto, kyoku.
Tokyo, Kyoko. It's the ka. It's the last two words that are hardest for me. Does anyone else want to go? Or
やばいんですね。
don't feel like you have
Yeah,
to.
don't
But
feel like you have to, but if you want to go ahead and try pronouncing them, 絶対難しい。Is there another tongue twisters? Oh, alright.
there is.
お願いします。いいか、どうぞ。
Akamakagami, kimakagami, makagami.
Okay, そうだよ。そう。赤makagami, kimakagami, aomakagami. Akamakagami, kimakagami, aomakagami. Yeah, actually, that's alright.
Yeah, that one's alright, yeah.
簡単ですよね。
This one's just silly.
お願いします。どうぞ。
Sumo no ichi.
Okay. Arigato. If you didn't know, this hiragana is mo. So, sumo mo no ichi. It's just.
Not too bad. There's 8 modes,
Is there more?
which is how I remember how to
8
do it.
more.
Oh no!
Oh,
I'd say
oh,
8
more.
modes in that tongue twister.
That's also. Oh, so you just remember the mo.
Yeah, literally so many modes for so little to say.
Yeah. 難しいですよね。
Sumo no ichi.
Sumo. Actually, again, quickly, this is another particle. As you can see, that's your su. That's your momo. Momo no ichi. So this mo means also. So the plums and the peaches are also part of the peach family, it would mean. So also. So if you wanted to just say they are part of the peach family, you could just use wa. What? But if you want to say that also, you can use mo. So if you're gonna say, someone says, watashi wa Nihonjin desu, and you're also Japanese, you can say, watashi mo Nihonjin desu, which means I'm also Japanese. So, or you could say, usually in speech, instead of saying watashi mo Nihonjin desu, you might say watashi mo, which basically means me too, which is a quite popular phrase. So, mo, yeah. So these, I think this is plum. This is plum. No, this is plum. This is peach. this means peach. No. No is okay, it's another particle. So say this kind of means family. So if you use no, it means a possessive particle, which basically means it's describing. In this case, it's describing the uchi, describing the family. So if you're saying momo no uchi, it's peach no family or peach no group. So actually, this means peach family. So if you want to say something is yours, you can say watashi no desu. Watashi no desu. So that's mine. Watashi no desu. So watashi no desu. Or you could say watashi no terebi desu. So this is my television. Watashi no terebi desu.
このペンが私のです。
Yeah. So you can say yeah. So this is my pen. So that's 3 particles that you've learned. Wa, mo, wait, 4. Wa, mo, ni, and no. So yeah. Got some Japanese slang if you want to go, Ben.
Yeah, so first off, we'll start with do, which can have a few different meanings. It can sometimes mean "what do you think," which is like short for domo, which spelt out like this with the kanji. I'll just paste that in there, and like this in Romaji. And it's kind of saying, what do you think? Or as in, well, as in asking for an opinion. And it can also mean like how. Like how, yeah, just how sometimes. Kimoi is short for kimochi warui, which is spelled like that on the PowerPoint. And it's usually expressed to, like, used to express disgust for something, and it's usually to describe objects such as food and people. Osu. Sorry?
I was gonna say, although usually in Japanese it's used to, in anime it's used to describe hentai shit. Like, kimoi. It's like some.
Yeah. Oh, that's disgusting. What you're doing that to me. Yeah, it's like telling the person off.
Or why you?
Yeah.
Kimoi.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Next we have osu, which is like a greeting, like a really, really informal greeting. Let's see. A really informal greeting, and it's like, it can be short for like choshi wa do, which is like a what's up, but this is more of a slang what's up. It's definitely non-keigo, and you should only really use it around friends. Maji or majide stems from the kanji for serious, majime, and is and then it gets shortened down to maji or majide to mean seriously or for real. Like if your friend, I don't know, maybe they've broken their arm or something, they've sent you a message saying, "Oh, I'm in the hospital, I've broken my arm." You're like, "Majide? Really?" So it can be used to express shock and stuff like that. Otsu, which is another one that you have to be careful of between osu and otsu. as they are quite similar in like in like
pronunciation.
in the saying. It's short for "Otsukare-sama deshita," which means like good job or thanks for the work. It's usually used at the end of a business day or at the end of a school club, something like that. Next we have "saite," which is slang for "you suck" or "you're the worst." It's usually used to describe people or to describe a really, really bad situation. Osu is written in katakana because it's a spoken word. Otsu is written in kana. Oh, my brain's going. It's written in hiragana because it can be written out as well, like a lot easier. Osu is generally just used for spoken language. So that's exactly the same reason why Maji and Majide is katakana as well. Next we have zurui, which is slang for saying somebody's like a sly person, a sneaky, or something's not fair. Like, so someone's had the pudding out of the fridge, like the brother or sister's pudding out the fridge, and they go zurui, watashi no pudding tabetatta, tabechatta. Yeah, so it's just for like expressing. It can be used for expressing like annoyance or something like that. Ukeru is slang for so funny or too funny, and it's just really used for like laughing. You could, if you wrote it online somewhere, you could just use it as like a laughing thing. On the next slide, we have jo or mecha. Depending on where you are in Japan, you might hear mecha in Osaka, so it's more of a Kansai ben, and jo is more of a Kanto ben, which is like Tokyo area, stuff like that, and Kansai is like Osaka, Kyoto area. And they both mean the same thing, and they both mean very. So you could say for a very hot day, you could say jo atsui. Or on the other hand, for mecha, this is conjugated a little bit, but it's still got mecha in it. Mechakucha koyashi, which means I'm really upset. Are you putting that in Hiragana or Romaji? Or, I'll just type that, sorry, quickly. Type that in Hiragana. Yeah, like the two kanji things I've put in the chat. If you could do that, yeah. Thank you. Next we have uso, which is taken from the phrase from the word usotsuki, which means no. Usotsuki means you're lying, and it's like a really harsh way of saying you're lying. Uso means no way or you're lying, but it's a lot softer. It's more like a playful kind of a playful kind of thing that you could use with your friends. Like if you're in disbelief of what they just said, you're like, so you're like, no way, you just done that. Yeah. Next we have donmai, which is taken from the English phrase "I don't mind." Jo and Cho. Yes and no. I'm not 100% sure in this meaning, but generally they are different, and they are like spelled different as pixels written in the chat.
Yeah. So joy, but
Um,
they have the same meaning, kind of, isn't it? Same meaning.
they can do, yes. Yeah. But I put Jo as that's the one I'm more familiar with. Like if I was gonna say, I'd say Jo rather than Cho.
So this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dom. Sorry,
no, I
go
was
on.
gonna say like if you're gonna say it's really hot, you could be like "좋지," or "좋지," and that's like saying it's
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
like yeah.
It's really hot. Jo, that's sweet.
"좋지,"
Yeah.
yeah.
Third one down the page, we have "donmai," and that's taken from the English phrase "I don't mind." So it means exactly the same in Japanese. So it's another gaigokuro or borrowed word. But it could also like mean like, oh, it doesn't matter, don't worry about it. Just anything in that general vicinity of meanings. Like, so it could just mean stuff like that. You might see like W written online, maybe in a Japanese YouTube chat or a live stream. It's usually used to express laughter in text form because the word for laughter is warasu. I'll just type that in chat. Hopefully I get the kanji right.
You're lazy if I'll just put where.
I don't think I'm going to get the kanji right. Do you mind putting the kanji for laugh in the chat,
Yeah,
Tyree?
lazy if I'll just put it in. This is what.
That's it. That's it. Thank you, ladies.
Wara.
Yeah. So if you were taking that in Romaji, it obviously begins with a W. So that's why it's in. If you see that in chat, yeah. Sometimes you'll see like that in a row, like string, like in a string of text, or just written out. There's loads of W's in a row. And sometimes if they do that, you can just or you might see the kanji for grass, which is this one, which is kusa. And that happens because when you put the W's in succession like that, it can look like lots of blades of grass. So they just use they can use the kanji for grass, which is kusa, and it also kind of sounds like you're snickering to yourself a little bit in like Japanese onomatopoeia, like kusa kusa kusa. Mm-hmm.
So that.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of weird and cool internet slang for Japanese. There's like internally screaming, which is that. So you ever see that? Somebody's really annoyed online.
Yeah. that's nice.
Yeah.
Which is basically
QWERTY,
is it QWERTY keyboard? It's basically
yeah, QWERTY keyboard. If you go from left to right and you start doing Q A W S and keep going in that kind of pattern, you will get this this pattern that I put in the text chat.
So this.
One slang word that I hear quite a lot, but I couldn't really find too much online, was ma, which kind of means yeah, it's okay, I guess, or yeah, I'm doing all right, I suppose. Um,
It's kind of like
uh,
a middle kind of medium, like
yeah,
kind
like
of like
I don't know how many French speakers are, but in the chat. But if someone is asking how you're doing and you say "oh c'est bof,"
okay,
it kind of means or "comme ci comme ça."
yeah,
If there's any French speakers in the
yeah,
chat, it kind of means oh it's like half and half. I'm doing okay. It's not too bad.
yeah. That's it. Yeah, yeah, that sort of thing. I'm okay. Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it generally changes the meaning depending on the context, like somewhat like of the question someone's asking. Um, to answer why Pixel's question of why so specific, I'm really not sure. I guess someone made it up and they just thought, oh, what does it look like if I do this on the keyboard?
And then they invented internet slang.
And then internal screaming, internet slang. But it is a weirdly specific group of characters and letters. Like if you were just seeing that for the first time, I'm sure you just think that it's a random string of characters. Next one we had yeah, exactly, Natsu. Yes, it can mean roughly or approximately as well.
Yeah,
If someone was asking you like how far away, you'd say, oh, it's so many kilometers away, mama, kind of.
yeah.
Get like it's like a give or take, roughly or approximately. Yeah, that's it, Pixel.
Romance Ganai, or like I haven't quite reached yet. Something.
Mm-hmm. The next word featured earlier in the presentation, but I'm going to say a slang way of saying it. So the next one is sumimasen, and the slang way of saying it would just cut out the M syllable from me. So instead, and that's the second character from the sumimasen. And instead of saying sumimasen, you'd say suimasen. It means exactly the same. It is fun to type, isn't it? I'm not gonna lie, I've used that a lot. Suimasen is just a more native way of saying it. It doesn't change the meaning at all. It just makes it a lot easier to say. Like you don't have to change your mouth shape quite as much. The next one we have is warina, which is like a slang way of saying I'm sorry. And I know the katakana there says ne. Sometimes you can interchange that with na as well, but you would still write it as ne to make it grammatically correct. Also with warine, it could be like saying, oh, sorry, that's my fault, or like owning up to a mistake that you've made.
I think it comes from warui, which is like bad.
Yeah, bad thing.
Yeah, so warui is bad. So warine is like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll just go through the last one and then I'll explain how to get the small characters on mobile. So the last one is ippai do, which literally means how about one. But if you were asking a Japanese person this, it would be, would you like to go for a drink? It's like probably an alcoholic drink or something. So you'd be going down to the izakaya or the pub, something like that. Literally, yeah, worry being bad. Yeah, a really informal way of saying sorry. It's like my bad. Like Another way of saying machigaita ne, I messed up.
Yeah, machigachatta.
Yeah, machigaitatta.
It's just like, oh.
Is it chatta? I think it's just machigaita.
You could probably say both, really. Machigachatta. Machigaita.
Probably.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I think I'd stick with machigaita because it flows a bit more, but
So.
it might be more grammatically correct to say
I mean,
machigaitatta.
chatta is more like, it's more like speaky, but machigaita is that's probably more grammatically correct, actually. But machigachatta, it's like
Yeah.
chatta is used a lot in formal speech to mean like, it's almost like a suru. You've done something. Oh, machigachatta. Oh,
Yeah. I
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of something that you've done. So it's used quite often like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they are
To answer Pixel's question,
small characters.
do you have an iPhone or an Android? Because it could change iPhone. That's really difficult for me because I've never used an
So
iPhone.
what's the small characters? What does that mean? I'm just a bit lost.
Like the su, like or on Ippai,
So they are.
or do you mean Furigana or like the little characters like the
Yeah,
su
so
character, little su for Ippai?
little tsu. The little tsu, you can just put L,
The little
just
su.
put L, and then just put the character after it. So if you want a little A, you can just put I'll type it in L. Oh no, I haven't got Oh wait, yeah. It depends on what keyboard you got. If you've got like a QWERTY keyboard that's Japanese, you can just put L, then put A, or L then E, and it'll just make it small.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
that's what I used to do when I had just a normal QWERTY keyboard. But when you have a Japanese keyboard, you can type it twice. No wait, no you don't. I type it once. I wish I could show you, but it says you type it and then underneath at the very bottom, directly under the there's a button which you can get rendaku. So you click the rendaku button and it makes it smaller instead. So that's something you can do. Yeah. So that's how you get small characters, which is
I see.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just using autocorrect for the whole
I
time.
used to do that actually because I had no idea like how to do it, but yeah, it's that's one thing you can do. Yeah, it's that button, that one. So you click that, and I think because it has that short kanji, the small kanji in that button, then it means that you can make it small or big. I think that's what it means anyway. So yeah.
I see. I don't think I've got that button.
Yeah, no, I've got it on
I think it's because I've got. I'm just using Gboard.
right. Naruhodo. I'm using I'm using Gboard as well, but I think there's different.
Which layout do you use?
I don't know what this one's called. There's like
I use the Bodan one, which is like the Romaji keyboard.
is that like QWERTY keyboard, but you just type it.
No.
It's not.
It's like a proper Japanese keypad, but with Romaji instead of.
So this. Because I got this. I just posted it. I got that. That's what I got.
Ah, I see. Yours is slightly different to mine.
Yeah.
Like quite a lot different. I'll just.
So like when I want to type in like a word, if I want to say ka or ku, you hold on to a letter and it comes up with all the rest of them in that category.
I see.
Hold on, it's actually difficult to get up. Okay, here we go. So you see, I can hold K, and it comes with the kiku keko all around it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So I can just do that sort of thing, and it's quite straightforward.
I get you.
Although it's hard to use at first because you have to kind of gear your mind to work out which katakana, which hiragana you go for, how to spell which word. It used to be time consuming, but then once you get used to where to click and swipe, so you hold it, it comes up swipe, and you hold swipe, that kind of thing. While you do that, you get used to it. Oh, so okay,
So that's the keyboard I'm using.
right. Eh?
I need to transition to the katakana keyboard.
Right. Okay. See,
The hiragana.
yeah. So you can just click M and then A, and that's ma, or S,
Yeah.
S I, and that's she. Ah.
Yeah.
Ah. 見たことない. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, and then like same with yours. Like if I press and hold or swipe in a direction from that key, it types that other letter.
Right. So this name. Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll just quickly finish on before we turn into keyboard lesson.
Yeah.
So just to review everything, then you got self-introduction. So if one of you guys could introduce yourself with the self-introduction, if you remember it. Do you remember it? If you remember it, just type it down into the comment, your self-introduction. Yeah, 自己紹介です。
はい、自己紹介するよ。
自己紹介する。So, よろしくお願いします。So that's if you don't remember it, you can also check out the presentations page as well. A lot of people have put like different ways of introducing themselves, and they've used this kind of layout of, well, let me scroll up a bit. よろしくお願いします. They use that quite a lot. よろしくお願いします. Okay, nice one. Yeah, so you can say 私は ashuri desu. What I'd just say ashuri is the wa isn't like a literal hiragana wa. It's it uses this wa. This is the particle wa. So when you say watashi, you would just say watashi wa. So you'd use this particle rather than, this hiragana rather than this hiragana. So you'll see that a lot often when this is used as a particle, which basically means it's describing the subject, which is I, watashi wa. You would pronounce that as wa instead of ha. So when you start to learn particles, you'll get used to that, and you'll see it quite often. And when it's used as a particle, it's wa. Watashi wa ashuri desu. So yeah, besides that, you got that right. But misu o kudasai. Misu onegai shimasu. Nodo korechata na. I haven't got any.
そうだ。そうだし。
ベンさんもこんな感じ。喉がちょっとだけど、水が欲しいけど。So yeah, we learned hiragana, katakana, and kanji as well. So again, just to go over it quickly, good to learn hiragana and learn hiragana as quickly as you can, so you can get used to pronouncing properly. Because although you can pronounce properly with Romaji, it's easier to get the Japanese pronunciation when you are able to use hiragana and read hiragana. And kanji is a long journey for anyone learning Japanese. Unless you are Chinese, then you've got much greater advantage. But kanji is a journey, so next session, next week, if you guys can come, we've got a kanji lesson, a lesson dedicated to just kanji. So if you can come to that lesson next week, we're going to go into detail of kanji, how you can practice kanji, where kanji came from, and so much more. So if you come to that next week, it'll be set same time, about 7 o'clock p.m. UK time. You can go and learn about kanji and how to start learning it. And then we've got so we learned some useful phrases and conversation throughout this class as well. Some basic grammar. Remember the da and desu, deshita, janai, janakatta. I will post some of these slides before this video gets posted on YouTube, which it will for those of you who missed some of it. I will post some slides from this PowerPoint, so you can look over some of the points and just quickly review yourselves on them. So yeah, so don't worry if you don't remember everything. Slang, we learned some slang as well, and we learned some really crazy tongue twisters. Tongue twisters, there's so much more tongue twisters online. Check them out. If you're learning hiragana, check them out and try to pronounce them in hiragana, because that will really help you to be able to read hiragana and get around tricky Japanese pronunciation. Okay, so yeah. So if anyone has any questions, just put them down in the Japanese chat. And this can be anything to do with like learning or like what to do when learning, or like any questions about this session, or anything really to do with learning Japanese. I will say as well, just quickly, if you've noticed like what some of the sessions that are going to be happening this month, there's going to be an anime session. Well, not anime, how to put it. So there's going to be a movie night, hopefully, if you guys can come. And we're going to stream an anime. Next week, you'll be able to get the opportunity to choose which anime you want to watch. And from that anime, we'll be doing a lesson on that anime. So you'll be able to listen to clips from that anime, and learn some dialogue from the anime, and learn Japanese straight from the source. So that will be in 2 weeks' time. There'll be a film show and guys get to choose. So okay, so what's this? Gokuro sama deshita. Otsukaru sama deshita. Gokuro.
That's the one after a meal, isn't it?
Oh, gochiso sama deshita.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm not sure if that.
I don't know.
If you're thinking of that one.
Gochiso sama deshita.
Oh, okay. Oops. Put that in the wrong thing.
Otsukare sama deshita means literally I'm tired. It's used like if you're leaving, especially you're leaving work and you're going home, say otsukare sama deshita, like which suggests that because you're tired because you did a lot of hard work at the office. Because Japan has a very hard working work ethic. This phrase is used when you're leaving the office, just as a greeting. So just think of that as a set phrase. Otsukare-sama deshita. You say if you're gonna leave after work.
To answer Natsu's question, they are the same. I just haven't heard of Gokuro-sama
Oh, it is
deshita.
Gokuro-sama deshita.
Yes, it is. It's like it's like a proper thing for saying good job rather than saying Otsukare-sama deshita.
So
It's probably like a more keigo.
yeah, it's
But I don't. I when I went, I never heard it. I just heard Otsukare-sama deshita.
Was Otsukare-sama deshita also used when people were like just leaving in general, like leaving somewhere?
Yeah, if you like, if say if you were, if you were leaving work and you finished work for the day, if you're leaving, you'd say to your colleagues, "Imo wakarimasu, otsukare-sama,"
Okay.
and then the colleague would reply "otsukare" or
So wakarimasu. So it doesn't have to be necessarily formal setting.
Mm-hmm. You could say it to a teacher, you could say it to your boss or a colleague, or even a friend at school, something like that.
Okay, sugoi. Okay, so honorific, humble. What do you mean? So honorific is like, wait, hold on. Honorifics itself are what's used before the. Is it before? It's before or after. Before or after. It's both, isn't it?
After.
Is it after? Okay, so honorifics are like the sama or san that you use at the end. So okiakusama, like if you're talking about customers, okiakusama ga ippai kite. Customers came. Yukaku-san, that part, or kyaku-sama, that's your honorific. When we talk about humble language, there's basically different levels of politeness in Japanese. So you got your informal, then you got your formal, which you'd use generally with people that you just don't know or just talk to for a short time or in a formal setting. And then you got sonkeigo, which is like super formal. So in that super formal setting, that is called humble language. So in humble language, you get verbs that are completely different. The word to eat is not taberu. In humble, it's meshiageru. So it's like completely different. Different words, just used in very formal settings.
Yeah. You generally hear samurai or shogun or like people who are high up and trying to be humble using that kind of language.
Right.
So if you were playing, what's the new game that came out on PS4? Ghosts of Tsushima, and you were playing in Japanese, you'd hear the main character be called Dono a lot.
Dono. That's like really.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
used.
yeah. It's like
is it used often?
It's not you. It's not.
Not really.
It depends. It's used for a certain type of person.
Yeah.
It's used for humble people. It's like people who give a lot to charity, or like say samurai. People like that. But he in the game also uses a lot of humble language. So yeah, sometimes it's worth playing games in Japanese or watching things that you may have watched in English first and then watch them again in Japanese, because at least you'll know from watching in English what it's meant to say, like not just with subtitles or like it could, yeah, not just with subtitles, but like contextualize. Or
Yeah.
my brain's not working tonight. I'm
No.
sorry.
It's like what's his name? If you because like, and I think this is why in terms of my listening practice and my speaking practice, um, it's probably not as good compared to my grammar knowledge and reading and typing or whatever, because like when I watch a lot of things anime in Japanese, but I always have the English subtitles at the bottom, so you can become reliant on the English subtitles. But if you watch something in English, for example, say if you watch I don't know, an anime show and you watch the dub, for example, if you want to improve your listening and try to help pick stuff up, if you watch something that you already watched in Japanese without subtitles, then you're able to know what's going on in the story already. So that's something that you don't have to focus your mind on, and you can start picking up on the language, which helps you to start being able to work out what's going on or what certain meaning of words and things like that. So that's quite useful to do.
Yeah, it can also help you like localize what some of the words say.
Yeah.
So if you were if you're at a scene where there's a family sitting down for tea and they're going itadakimasu, like sometimes if the translation might mess up and just either not have a translation or it's really badly translated. Like there's food, thank you,
Yeah.
and so it's like sometimes they've like make it like the saying grace or something.
Yeah, like they have to do the best they can with the translation, because you can't. Certain Japanese phrases that you can't exactly translate, and you just, if you obviously watch it in Japanese, you can just kind of see what it's like to think in Japanese as well, and see their
Mm-hmm.
way of thinking rather than the translation's way of thinking.
Yeah, Pixel, that is correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like that. She doesn't know what to use because she usually uses watashi because it's more feminine. Um, Mitsuha might think Taki is more of a manly man or a bit of a Yankee. So she uses ore at the beginning and then settles with boku at the end, like because Taki's friends usually hear Taki say boku.
Yeah. So probably like when you're with, like, if you're a guy and you're speaking with informally with friends, you probably more use boku or more ore. Probably ore more. Ore
Ore more,
ore is a lot
yes.
more used for men
If
speaking with each other informally.
yeah, if you're trying to seem yeah like a formal either watashi or ore. If you're just in a informal setting, boku is fine.
Yeah, but don't use ore or boku in a formal setting. Use watashi.
No.
Use watashi.
Yes.
Use watashi.
Yeah,
Um,
it would be seen as rude if you use ore or
yeah.
boku. Like boku is like can be like you're talking like a child to if you're talking to a senpai or your
Yeah.
boss, and they probably won't appreciate that.
So this. So this. But
Anata-sama? I don't think that's correct. I don't think that would be correct. Neither would ore-sama.
you wouldn't use sama on like pronouns like watashi or ore or anata. You'd usually use
Yeah.
honorifics like san or sama on names. So if you're gonna say
Mhm.
I mean, for example, go shujin sama, which is like means husband. You might say the wife might call the husband go shujin sama, or someone else's husband go shujin sama. So you'd use sama on names or titles, or san on names or titles, but you wouldn't use it on pronouns.
Watashi in an informal setting, from experience, I would say it's okay. The one that I wouldn't use in a informal setting is atashi.
絶対言わない。絶対言わない。絶対言わなって方がいいじゃん。
Because that one is definitely feminine. Like watashi can be used for both male and female.
Atashi is like
it's like really feminine, trying to be cutesy, like trying to be more cute.
Yeah. Maybe if you're trying to quote someone saying Atashi and you're trying to like take the mic, it might be okay.
Yeah.
But like if you're calling yourself Atashi, then yeah, the most important thing, just think about watashi. If you're not sure, it's best to just stick with watashi.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you said anata-sama. Something about, just quickly, about saying you in Japanese. Don't. if you,
yeah,
that's simply like, you might think like, oh really, you is such there's so many words for you, but then it's safer if you don't say you, because there's so many different nuances behind it. So anata is really direct, and you use it maybe if you're your husband and wife, and
husband, wife, friends,
very close
stuff
friends.
Like that.
Yeah, anata might be used. Like kimi means more like it can be condescending if you're talking to someone and calling them kimi. It's
if you're talking to someone the same age or older, it's condescending. If you're talking to someone younger, and it's okay. Like if a teacher is saying to a student, "Oi, soko no kimi." Kochi oide.
Yeah, that's more safer to use.
Yeah.
Situation.
You have to be sure that the person you're talking to is younger than you.
Yeah. Like most likely quite much younger. There's and then you've got omae. It comes to the stuff that you hear in anime all along, and don't use the stuff. Don't use the you that you use in anime, like omae, teme. You asking for
omae is not too bad as long as you don't say teme at the end.
Omae is, but it's still rude if you don't.
It's still rude.
But you say it more like maybe with your friends, like male friends.
If you really don't know the name, and you just met someone and you have to get along with them, but you haven't asked the name yet, a good way to ask the name is saying "Oh my," and I'll say, "Please don't call me you. Please call me my name."
Yeah. What? So you say it to.
Yeah. So if you ask them a question and say, if you're asking "Omae no namae wa" or "Kimi no na wa," to quote "Kimi no na wa," but "Omae no namae wa" is a lot nicer to hear.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm still be afraid of using it though, because I just feel like.
Yeah, that's why Japanese people generally introduce themselves at the beginning,
right,
at the start, so they don't offend anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are referring to someone by name, because it's not unnatural if you're talking to someone like directly to just, instead of saying you, just to say their name. It's like that's natural. That's okay in Japanese. Whereas if you were to say that refer to someone in that third person, if third person pronoun in a different language, it would be strange. So I can be talking to Ben and I can say Ben-san when I'm talking about Ben, when I'm talking with him, but it won't seem strange in Japanese, where it would seem strange in other cases. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's safe to just stick with the name. Yeah. So I think what I did leave, just like in case you guys gave quite a few questions, so I just added questions at the end, and we've gone through pretty much the first two as we've gone along. But and the third one kind of with tips for practicing Japanese, and it's something that I'm actually, even though I've been learning for 3 years, I'm starting to learn a bit more to do more often. Don't get too hung up with trying to learn all the kanji and trying to learn all the right grammar points. It's important to kind of know grammar and a bit of kanji and gradually learn kanji as you're learning Japanese. It's good to learn that at the beginning, but what you need to do is then start using the language. Just get using the language, whether that's going on like a forum, going in this Discord chat, for example, and just talking in the Japanese chat, or just using apps such as there's apps called Hello Talk, which you can talk with people, natives in different from different countries. So you can talk to Japanese people, and you can get corrections from them on their language, and then they can you can help them with the language that they're trying to learn. So it's like you're helping each other with languages. So you want to get practicing straight away, because when you start speaking, you start to see, like this is when you start to really start to use the language. It's like you're learning a language, hopefully try and speak it and communicate it. So it's important not to get too bogged down with all the theory stuff and to get speaking with it. Yeah.
I'd say if you wanted to learn kanji, start with about 20. Like, not all in one go, but just gradually build yourself up to 20, and that could probably get you like around Tokyo or around Japan if you went on holiday. And you wouldn't have to worry about not being able to read many things.
Yeah, it's true. But if you are coming to next week's lesson, we're gonna anyway go into much detail about kanji in terms of things to know about kanji, the history, and tips and ways to learn it as well. But like Ben said, you can start with just learning just a few kanji, the most important or the most frequently used kanji, and start practicing from there.
Yeah, counters are great to start with.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's like another conversation.
That's like a whole lesson.
Yeah.
You could probably do a whole lesson on different counters.
Yeah, counters is a.
But if you learn, say, the numbers, that's a really good start, because they use the numbers quite a lot in like different ways of saying things, like saying futari or futatsu. It's still using the same kanji for two.
Yeah. So and that's a good thing about learning kanji, is that when you recognize a kanji means something, you might see it used in different contexts, but you can kind of work out the meaning without having to know what the reading is and things like that for the kanji. So like if it's futatsu or futari, as Ben said, they're both pronounced differently, but you'll see the kanji for two, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that must mean two of something. So like just draw there's I try not to draw on Fujiwara Senpai's face. That's futari and that's futatsu. So you can see that it's the same kanji, so it means two something or two something. So you can kind of work out the meaning from that. And just a quick thing, I guess, with the kanji. Some kanji, such as person, actually looks like a person. They've got two legs and a body. So there you go. There's your first kanji. So it's some kanji are quite easy to remember. So this one's like a walking man. So that's a man. Oh, this one is like is you've got a trunk. You've got branches. That's your tree. So some kanji are useful like that.
Yeah, and then if you, just to go off that last one, if you put three of those in a row like that, that's forest.
Yeah, like that.
Other way around.
You probably...
Yeah, big ones at the
okay. Oh yeah. So they are. Yeah. That's Oh man. Okay, so there's your forest. Your woods. So what is the double moku kanji? Oh yeah, so there's three. So you got tree, which is just one, and you got forest, which is two, and then you got like a bigger forest, woods, which is three. Yeah. So someone's put the kanji for fire as well, which is basically a person on fire. Literally, you've got two things either side. The person is on fire. And yeah, you could just take it. Oh, here's a person. They're quite big, so they've maybe they've got their arms stretched out. So this is the person's arms are stretching out, and that's a kanji for big, stretching out. And if they've got some, I don't know, some leftover flab, this is means fat. So this is fat. This means big. That means person. So you can see kanji can make sense, and when you understand it, it helps. So yeah. But yeah, so next week we'll go through that in much detail anyway, so you can understand that a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you got anything else to say, Ben?
No, that's it from me.
Cool. Thank you guys for coming along. We'll get this lesson out as soon as possible onto YouTube. I will upload the other videos first from July, and I think it was last week. Last week's lesson on Kansai, I'll upload that as well onto YouTube, so you can go back and look at those. And also for speaking as well, I'm thinking about, like, every now and then I will just jump on the voice chat. If you want to come along and practice, because I want to practice, or you just want to jump on and practice or whatever, I'll make a note. I'll make a message in the Discord chat, and you can just come and just practice and ask questions in Japanese. But we'll try and speak as much Japanese, maybe, just so you can get used to Japanese. And it doesn't matter what level you're at. It's just important to try and speak the language you're learning as much as you can. and hopefully there's other people on this server who are quite fluent in speaking Japanese as well that can help. So so thank you for coming today, and if you can make it next week for the kanji session, there'll be more details during the week, and you can come along to that and you can learn more about the kanji using Japanese as well and how to learn them. Okay, so お疲れ様でした。